Now, the week is moving along slowly without basketball as Kentucky fans wait for another chance to see the team on the floor following the loss on Saturday to Arkansas. To help us look ahead to the Georgia and Florida games, as well as hopefully a postseason run, is on Skype right now Jeff Goodman from CBS Sports. Jeff, thank you for joining us.
Love the music, the intro.
Yeah.
Is that you? Did you put that together?
That was actually Norlander wrote that for us.
No, then we're going to have to change it.
Yeah. Kentucky, last time we talked, it seemed like there was a little bit of hope that they were starting to round into form and maybe be more of a competitive basketball team, more consistent. Arkansas, they go down to Fayetteville on Saturday, really get kind of handled pretty easily and don't show up in a lot of different ways. What's your opinion of this team now coming out of this Arkansas game? Has anything changed, or are they just as inconsistent as they were before?
Yeah, I don't think anything's changed because nobody wins in Fayetteville for the most part. I think Syracuse did earlier in the year, but it's hard to win there. But again, you're certainly concerned about the fact that they're not playing with that sense of urgency right now, and they've been inconsistent. You would think that maybe I thought that Nerlens' injury would eventually trigger a little bit more intensity with this group, and it really hasn't. They're inconsistent. We know that. However, I still think they've got a shot here down the stretch if they can win probably 2 of their final 3 games.
Is there, we look at this team, and when they started playing well, Julius Mays kind of emerged as their big play guy down the stretch and their leader on the floor. I think there are legitimate questions, especially after Arkansas, if he has the makeup to kind of be that guy for a good team. And then, of course, Ryan Harrell plays well in 3 games at home at Rupp. After struggling on the road, plays a bad game again at Arkansas. Who's the most important? Is there a guy that you can say is the most important? They need Harrell to play better, that Mays has to carry the team? Or is there a problem all the way around, you think, in consistency with everybody on the entire roster?
Yeah, I think it's just overall how the pieces fit together. I mean, Mays is tough. He's that veteran. He's been around. But he's not a great athlete, not a great player. That's why he ended up at Wright State. He's a good piece. I think it's bigger, to be honest, the guys like Alex Poitras, Ryan Harrell. Those are the 2 guys that I've said all year you're going to go as far as they take you, because those are the 2 guys that don't always come to play. And as you said, Ryan Harrell is good at home, but can he withstand going on the road and dealing with not being in his comfort zone? He really hasn't shown that to be the case so far this year. And those 2 guys are kind of, again, they're the key to this team. They've been the key all season long, and they're kind of the reason why this team has been so up and down.
Last time we talked, you had said that you think Kentucky, and you wrote an article about it as well, there's going to be maybe a little bit of a push to have them in that play-in game to draw attention to that opening weekend of the tournament. They've, of course, struggled. The latest projections have them in the last 4 out, most of them. Do you think the Cats will find their way into that tournament? Do you think if they do, Dayton is looking like the place where they're going to end up?
I mean, again, it depends. If they beat Georgia and beat Florida, then they're squarely in. And it's unbelievable how quickly things can change. We look at St. Louis. Right now, people are talking about St. Louis being on maybe the 4 line. A month ago, St. Louis was probably on the bubble. So, again, is Kentucky going to go from being in the bubble to 4 line? No. But they can go from being out right now, in many people's opinions, to 10 or 11 seed if they somehow do get together, beat Georgia on the road, and then take care of business at home and play like a different team. And a lot of teams do that. But then I think if you win those –
Can you hear me, Jeff?
Yep.
Okay, sorry, we lost you there for a second. The Georgia game coming up on Thursday night, this is an opportunity, of course, for them to make a road statement. How challenging of a game for fans that have not seen the Georgia team play? Is this a dangerous game? Can Kentucky go in and lose this to a team that's kind of middle of the road?
Yeah, I mean, they lost to Texas A&M at home. Of course they can lose. I think they'll win this game. Again, Georgia's the type of team, they've got one big-time scoring option, and that's Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. If you can somehow, and again, easier said than done, but if you can contain him, not let him get off for 20, 25 points, I think you go in there. Obviously, the environment in Athens, Georgia right now, probably not a huge home court advantage. So I think Kentucky can go in there, get some swagger, maybe win a road game, and then you know what? They play Florida at home. Who knows what happens? This Florida team still isn't unbeatable. People had them on a pedestal, a month or so ago when they were beating up on everybody, but they were beating up on crappy teams.
Without Nerlens, obviously they had Nerlens for the majority of that Florida game, and Florida, has looked very good, like you said, for stretches and kind of struggled at times. It would seem that they have more depth than Kentucky. Their backcourt has certainly been more consistent, maybe more muscle up front. If you're Kentucky, you're going into this Florida game. If you're John Calipari, what is your recipe? You say, I need this from you, this from you. This is how we're going to attack, and this is how we can beat Florida at Rupp Arena.
I mean, I think it all comes down to toughness. You know, are you going to be pushed around by Patrick Young? You know, can you go out and fight those guards? Those guards are really good defensively, Scotty Wilbekin and Kenny Boynton. Are you going to be able to defend them? I was there in Gainesville. That was such a pathetic defensive effort, especially in the perimeter. I mean, Scotty Wilbekin got to the basket and into the lane whenever he wanted. I asked him after the game, and he just kind of smiled at me when I asked him how easy it was to get into the lane. And I think, again, it's got to be defense, it's got to be toughness, it's got to be intensity, all three things that have been really hit or miss all year with these guys.
Nationally, as we get ready to enter the tournament, Gonzaga, of course, is #1. Indiana, a lot of people still there. If you had today to pick the teams that you think are the 4 best teams, that you'd be your 4 pick to make the Final Four today, who would those teams be?
Duke, absolutely. I really loved him at the beginning of the year. I saw him a ton, and now that Ryan Kelly's back, I'm not saying he's going to score 36 a night, which he won't, but the other teammates are going to learn to play with him again, and Plumlee's not going to be double-teamed every possession, and Quinn Cook's going to have room to drive the ball now where he didn't. I think there's certainly one. Indiana's got to be in the mix. Those 2 for sure. I'm going to stick with Louisville. They were my preseason pick. Haven't loved them over the last month or so of the season, but I still think they've done it before. They're going to turn it on. As long as they get somebody that makes consistent shots, they've got everything else. They've got a rim protector in Jang. They've got experienced guards. They defend. They've got a Hall of Fame caliber coach. So I think Louisville would be 3. And then I'm not sure that 4th one to me is kind of up in the air. I'm kind of on the fence with still going with Michigan State. I saw them lose to Michigan in Ann Arbor the other day. Keith Appling's playing like garbage over the last 3 games. Yet Michigan State still had a chance to beat all 3 of their teams that they lost to, Indiana, Ohio State, and in Ann Arbor against Michigan. So I'll take Izzo in March. Usually that proves to be a pretty good call.
All right, Jeff Goodman from CBS Sports. Appreciate the time. Always a pleasure having you on the show, Jeff.
You got it, man. Thanks for having me.